They just killed Spider-Man, they officially replaced Peter Parker with Miles Morales, Insomniac pisses off fans. What? They killed Spider-Man?
I'm here for you, always.
I don't know, seems to me like he's alive and well.
Without a doubt, the first Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4 that Insomniac put out a few years ago was beloved by so many people. Then they came out with the Miles Morales one for PlayStation 5 that almost felt like a DLC, but was technically a different game. But still, tons of people were excited for Spider-Man 2. And some of those people have been let down a little bit, not because the gameplay was bad or anything like that, not because of the technical aspects of the game, but for the most part, a lot of people were complaining about the story, specifically how important Miles Morales was to the entire thing. And now it looks like after a few weeks and listening to some of the feedback, hearing people talk about it, Insomniac has just decided to go up and tell everybody exactly what it seemed like to the fans. Spider-Man 2 writer Brittany Morris confirms that Miles Morales will be the main Spider-Man in the Insomniac universe. It always felt very natural, and I think we all collectively thought it would happen. Well, I guess all the people who wanted it to happen really wanted it to happen, but I don't know if the vast majority of people out there, the vast majority of Spider-Man fans, not so sure they wanted it to happen. Insomniac Games confirms who its main Spider-Man is. Now, let's get into this thing.
I'd like to mention that Miles being the main Spider-Man doesn't mean they've killed off Peter or dropped him forever. He's just taking a break for the sake of finding balance in his life. It's pretty clear how failing to find balance can play into how effective someone is at being a hero. Even in the first game, you have him falling asleep out of nowhere or being delayed by mishaps in his personal life due to struggles in balance. Wouldn't it be nice if he had another Spidey to rely on while Peter works on a system that doesn't lead to these interruptions or possible hindrances to his hero work? The concept of Peter taking time to find a system that works better for his current circumstances while he has another trusted Spider-Man take over with an already working system is not out of character in itself. Now, you can take issue with some of the execution, so we'll see if there's any elaboration on this.
As it is the case with most Marvel properties now, the ending of Spider-Man 2 sets up many things for the future and leaves us with just as many questions as it does answers. One of the main things answered in the final hours is which Spider-Man is mainly going to be taking charge of protecting New York City, something Insomniac Games is now given more detail in. Now, if you did see the ending, it's like Peter's like, I need you to be the Spider-Man here because he's going to go off and do other shit for a while. I guess that would be one thing if he had to take care of things for a couple months.
That's what the game is implying though, that he's putting more focus into the Emily May Foundation, and that doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be Spider-Man for months. For all we know, it could be a day or a week, and once the Emily May Foundation has been kickstarted to a stable position where he can start changing the world, Peter would have more leeway to be Spider-Man more often.
But now it looks like that next game is going to be all about Miles Morales. Who could have fucking guessed that?
I'm not seeing where anybody said that the third game would be all about Miles or that he's ready to take the lead in the third game. We don't even know what their plans are. We do know that Peter didn't quit being Spider-Man, considering he joined the Spider Society, which is a huge step up considering he's protecting the multiverse now. And Norman by the end of the game wants revenge on both Spider-Men. Peter will absolutely be back because he has to be, even for self-defense reasons.
After struggling with his identity because of the symbiote's influence for most of the game, Spider-Man 2 ends with Peter Parker taking a step back from the mask and focusing on building up the Emily May Foundation. This leaves Miles as New York's only Spider-Man for a while, which is confirmed as he swings off to save the day while Peter remains in his house with MJ. Although it's a pretty concrete ending that made it clear Peter Parker was going to take a back seat, Spider-Man 2's narrative director Ben Arfman and advanced writer Brittany Morris have expanded on the ending more in a recent interview with Gizmodo. When asked if the team always knew it wanted to have Miles become the main Spider-Man, Morris confirmed that's how he's being viewed, saying, "It always felt very natural, and I think we all collectively thought it would happen." To me, it shows a great deal of evolution from Miles. At the beginning of the game, we see him struggling to figure out what he wants to do with his life. By the end, we had Miles carrying the burden of saving the city and also carrying Pete when Pete wasn't strong enough to carry himself at various points. You know, the whole with great power comes great responsibility. I guess, Peter's been Spider-Man long enough. He might still have that great power, but he doesn't feel like he needs to take that responsibility anymore. Is that the message at the end of this? Is that the message for our current iteration of Spider-Man for Insomniac?
No, because power doesn't just come from jumping around and swinging webs.
Intelligence is not a privilege, it's a gift. And you use it for the good of mankind.
That's why Peter wants to focus on the Emily May Foundation, and it's not like he quit either. He literally gets a new suit in canon that is tied to the Foundation, so he does intend to continue on. Taking a backseat to find a system that works under his new circumstances isn't neglecting responsibility, especially since failing to find a balanced system will harm you in the long run. Think of it like this. You can spend all these restless days and nights doing your homework. You'll probably get a head start on a lot of your classes. But in time, you'll eventually have to fall asleep if you wish to survive. You'll need to play catch-up in terms of your sleep cycle, which can take a while to bring to a stable position. And this isn't even mentioning how productivity can be delayed when fatigued. And let's not forget your friends or family. Those connections can be affected by such frequent neglecting. You might have ignored possible calls for help from either of them. And let's not forget the possibility that you've reduced your eating and drinking habits to focus more on your work, which can lead to health side effects on top of the lack of sleep. The point of this hypothetical is simple. You need balance in order for things to work out in the long run.
I can't say this comes as a surprise. I was one of the people that loved the original Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4. I have not played Spider-Man 2. I just quite frankly haven't had any interest. And that was even before some of the more interesting kind of woke narrative talking points came out. The mission as a deaf girl, all that stuff.
So, he keeps using woke like it's a bad thing, and his example is that you can play as a deaf girl in a side mission. You don't have to like it or anything, but he repeatedly uses, woke, it's woke, it's woke, in a negative connotation and lists this as an example. I don't know what the crime here is, I don't even know what his point is, but I don't see it.
Uh, but I think it pretty much just confirms for me that I have no interest in this universe going forward. And it looks like if whatever the next game is, it's going to be heavily centered on Miles Morales.
So either you didn't go through the story and just decided to make definitive claims about what happened, which would make sense considering the lack of interest in buying the game, or you did go through the story and completely missed the point of the ending. Either way, I feel this isn't sufficient to justify any kind of blowback or criticism towards the ending. Like, oh, they killed Spider-Man, they killed him. My personal read on the ending is that while I think the build-up could have been better, we should wait for the DLCs or sequels before claiming Peter has actually done anything out of character, because for all we know by this point, he could just be taking a brief amount of time to figure out a system for himself, with plans to come back after he has done that. Anyway, I'll see you later.